That's how you know you fucked up.
Hey, what's up? TWOON Hansen here. May I ask what you're doing? Please, take a seat. Because I have a couple of questions and announcements. Not small ones, gigantic ones. A disclaimer before this video starts. This video contains very sensitive material. The topic of the video by itself is very sensitive. Obviously, nothing crazy will be shown, but I'm pretty sure that everybody can fill in the gaps. So if you personally think that you cannot handle the topic pedophilia, then make sure to click off the video right now. I will be starting off this video by saying that if you are new to this channel, usually I am an entertainer. This is not what I upload normally. However, me and others got put in a position where we felt like morally this was the right thing to do. Not only that, it also seems to be a very trending topic right now with YouTube. Recently, a guy called Matt made this video on YouTube.
Over the past 48 hours, I have discovered a wormhole, as I would call it, into a softcore pedophile ring on YouTube.
Now, I do think that the way he sent this message out was wrong, but the intent was right. And at the same time, I don't think that there is a perfect way of delivering a message like this. About 5 days ago, me and a couple of other people from my Discord and YouTube, we found a gigantic child pornography circle on Instagram. Now, as people who watch me may be aware, in the past 2 weeks, I've made 3 videos on underage girls. And this is where the story began. Bitch, you literally are producing fucking child pornography, you idiot. You are 16. Get the fuck back in your clothes. The first video was about a girl called Brittany. King Brittany in specific on Twitter. Her page popped up on my timeline. I'm not sure how it happened. I'm pretty sure that it was because someone liked one of her pictures or posts. However, her page popped up on my Twitter. Now on this page, this girl showed that she was 16 years old. And let's just say that the pictures on her Twitter back then and still right now are pretty graphic for a 16-year-old. Now these pictures were obviously made with a sexual intent. Here comes my first question for Twitter, Instagram and other platforms. Do you, as platforms, consider context? Because why is a minor who is obviously producing content in a sexual way allowed to do this on your platforms? These kids and you as a platform seem to hide behind one thing. They are just minors and they're just having fun on the internet. You sure about that? Because when you look at King Brittany's Snapchat story, it seems to be a whole lot different. This girl posts on her Snapchat pictures of her with cash money signs with it. Now, I had a personal conversation with this girl about it since she hit me up, and she says that she's not selling any material, and she says that if guys just want to send her money, they can send her money. Well, I'm 100% sure that this girl would not receive this amount of money if she was not underage and if she did not have the body she has right now. And she's obviously posting this on her Instagram feed in an obvious sexual way, and you, as platforms, are allowing this to happen. Now, I've already talked about this topic before. This is just an introduction so that people who are new to this video can understand where this is going. Now, like I said, the girls and the platforms seem to think that there's no problem with this whatsoever, even though the girls themselves have admitted to pedophiles actually looking at their pages. You act like I'm not aware that guys jerk off to my page. And them actually handing money over to them for specific reasons. Today, I've gotten over 500 guys in my message request on Instagram and got $200 in Amazon gifts coded. They claim to not sell anything, but there's a lot of evidence pointing towards something that is different.
Of me saying your name, and I said no, and you said why, just say my name, and I said no because that's a fan sign, and you wanted me to write your name on a piece of paper and shit. I said no. I said I'll say any other shit, but I won't say your fucking name. And you still come at me like, yo, you're a catfish, you got pre-recorded videos.
Now, I am not going to spread any more names except for the ones that I have already named before, due to the fact that I do not want anyone else to find any of this stuff anymore. At this point, all I want to do is I want to show these platforms that what they are doing is 100% wrong, and that behind the scenes, a whole lot more is going on. So like I said, I dropped 3 videos on these girls. Now, the community surrounding these girls did not really seem to like this one bit. They even disliked it to the point they celebrated me getting my Twitter deleted. Now, to me, it seems very fishy that they are celebrating it in this way right after I dropped a couple of videos on them. My Twitter did not break any rules, so I'm pretty convinced that you false flagged my page. This leads me to believe that you are trying to hide something. And you are. The first time I found out that they were celebrating me getting deleted was because people from my community and outside of my community but who still support my IDs sent me messages saying that they were celebrating it. Now, my community and the people who want to help have been very involved in this entire situation. I found this girl called Vic Lauren on Instagram because someone pointed it out to me on Twitter. Bill Lauren is posting Things that I cannot say due to me getting demonetized, images, and can't understand what she's doing illegal. At Jack, delete her account, at TWOON, at Twitter support. I would say that about half of the information that we gathered came from the community. But like I said, this happened and I got on a voice call with a couple of people from my Discord server.
There's a whole fucking subreddit dedicated to instabots? What the hell?
We looked at a couple of the pictures and we scrolled through the comment section to see what kind of people were commenting on it. Now obviously minors were included, but most definitely adults as well. Now I recognized one of the profiles in the comment section who commented this. I have to blur out his name because if I do not do that, I can actually spread the problem. However, if you are from the police, please reach out to me or to anyone else involved in this. Now I recognize this name because once before he gave me information on Lauren. This guy told me that he had been selling nudes. Now the guy sent me the information but did not follow me, so I decided that I wanted to follow him back. Usually that's something that you do when you are talking about a topic together, but he refused to accept my follow request, which I considered to be fishy. So I told him, hey man, I think that you are doing something wrong. If you are not doing something wrong, then I have the balls to accept my follow request. Before he requested my follow request, he had 8 posts. After it, he had 5 posts. Obviously, he deleted posts. Sadly, I do not have evidence of this anymore. You have to believe me on my word, but I will show you evidence in a minute that will most definitely 100% make you believe me. But that is how I recognize this profile. Now, he commented this on that post. First of all, I never threatened to call the police. I should have though. Second, you don't seem too happy with me taking down some of your material. Now obviously this guy's familiar with my name, so I asked one of the people in the Discord call to follow this guy. He accepted the follow request and on his page we found stuff like this. Now then we decided to go over his Instagram story, and this is where the gigantic rabbit hole starts. Now, first of all, this guy had a couple of underage girls, obviously somewhat nude, on his Instagram story. On his Instagram story. And then out of nowhere, this guy started talking about a folder. Apparently, this guy had a link posted in his bio that linked over to a mega folder. And according to this guy, this folder included child pornography. Weird how you seem to be flexing with that kind of shit. Now, apparently a couple of things went wrong. Some guy snitched on the guy, for good reasons, by the way. But he said that the link was still up. Now, it was not in his bio anymore, so we did some digging. Eventually, we found his account on Reddit. And on Reddit, the link was posted. Now, bear in mind, we were still on the call when this happened. It took us about 30 minutes to find all this shit. If we can do it in 30 minutes, Instagram, you should easily be able to find this. Now again, I cannot show the names because it will spread the problem. However, I've named Lauren before, and Lauren, she was in this folder as well. Let me remind you that Lauren is 14 years old. Let me also remind you that this had been up for quite some days. How can a folder with this many names be up on fucking Instagram? I get that things can go underneath the radar, but what is this? Now, trying to find every single link on your website is hard, I get that. But you, Instagram, you have been feeding this problem for ages now. These minors are directly on your website posting half nude. And I'm pretty sure that if you would check the DMs, you would find nudes. These guys are saying that there are nudes in these folders. And oh, Instagram, you have 0 tolerance for minors posting sexual content. 0 tolerance, right? Fuck off with that bullshit. You allow this shit. You wanna know something funny, Instagram? We reported your pages multiple times. And what response did we get back? This shit. So let me get this straight. Minors are allowed to post this shit on your website? Oh, but you're so against it. So against it, huh? Wanna know something funny, by the way? We also contacted CPS. No response. Or maybe even better, we reported this to the internet police, the ones who are supposed to help with this stuff directly. We even included all the evidence. What was the response? Nothing. Oh, hey, what's up, Discord? How you doing? One of us found a link on one of those disgusting Instagram pages that led over to a Discord group. She joined the Discord group, and this is the kind of stuff that went down in there. Now, you would think that this kind of stuff is against your terms of service, right? So yeah, we decided to report the group. We also included evidence, by the way. You didn't give a shit! Now, please, I do think that these girls are so stupid. Pretty sure that they don't even know that the massive folder exists. And this is everything we found in 5 days. Imagine what is still out there. And nobody gives a single shit. Hell, I get called a child bully for even pointing this out. Now, I do fully agree that sometimes I need to watch my language. But I'm not bullying these kids. And we are not going to do the research anymore. We have found enough to bring this to light. I'm pretty sure that this video is going to gain traction in some kind of way. Now, it will be hilarious if Instagram, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, all those other pages, the FBI, if you don't take action, now that would be funny if you wouldn't take action after all of this. And on the profiles, these girls have their high school names and stuff. Man, there just needs to be one creep who wants to do something. And all he has to do is look up the high school and go over there. They are making it so easy for them. Instagram, you need to change your terms of service and the way you deal with this shit. So what the fuck are we going to do about this? Fuck, are a couple of teens and a couple of young adults on the internet supposed to do more work than the fucking FBI? What the fuck is this? We provided the evidence. Now I'm going to end this video with a demand. Like I said, I want Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, all the other pages involved to do something about this. On top of that, I know that these girls are not going to do, but please stop doing this. I do not think that you understand the risks that come with it. Now, after this video is uploaded, other YouTubers will upload videos about this topic as well. They are most likely going to be more in depth than my video. This video was just meant as a start to show everyone what is happening. I will try to get this video monetized, and all the money that I make from this video will go to a good cause. I do not want anyone to witch hunt any of these girls. I do not agree with what they are doing, and I think that they are very stupid and naive. But the real ones we should focus on are the platforms. I am sure I missed out on quite a lot of things. Also, my apologies for the way I word myself sometimes. However, that is out of aggression that I'm pretty sure is justifiable. I still do need to work on that, however, so I will make sure to work on that. Besides that, all I can ask is spread the story. I do not understand how this shit is up. How the fuck is it up? So let's make clear that this shit shouldn't be up. Just like we had the hashtag YouTube wake up, let's start hashtag Instagram wake up. Now, and I think on that note that I can finally end this video and this topic. It's been draining me massively, so hopefully it has an impact. The links to my social media are in the description down below. If you want any updates, I'm going to keep on posting them on there. Sadly, like I said, I don't have a Twitter because it got false flagged, but I do have other pages on which you can follow me. Now, good luck to everyone who's going to continue with this stuff. Hopefully I started something good. Thank you for watching.
All right. Let's go ahead and bring Josh in because he wants to give his word in. I believe he's the owner of Kiwi Farms.
Yeah. We should also
Josh, you're on the air. Welcome to the show. What do you have to say?
This was a mistake. They made a mistake. A really bad.
It certainly looks like that. It certainly looks like that.
The main issue is that these things on Discord and shit, they're honeypots. They're run by the government. They use it to bait pedophiles into sharing stuff, and then they dox them through the network infrastructure. Going in and telling everybody, "Oh, we're watching."
So you're saying the link that TWOON had was a honeypot?
Probably, yeah. I mean, yeah. The government runs these kinds of things a lot to try and bait people into getting comfortable there and revealing information about themselves. Because what they really want, they don't like the pedophiles that just like share shit. They don't give a shit about that because they're just lowly pedophiles. They want the people that actually produce it and sell it. So they create communities, they entice them in, and then they bust the guys that are actually producing and selling it for money to people in the community. So going in and saying, "Oh, we're looking at them, we're watching them, we know who they are," and having them scatter and delete everything, that doesn't just destroy evidence; it breaks up the honeypot. So there's a pretty good chance that everybody that they've really pissed off a number of agencies, like in multiple countries. In terms of like agencies to report it to, if you do see something that's sketch and you want to report it. There's tips.fbi.gov. The other one is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's the one that you want to go to.
I did go to... Let me see which one, because one of them rings a bell. Let me see if that report's the same.
So Acton's asking in the chat, so the government ran a CP honeypot and caught Andy and Ralph.
I mean, I like Andy and Ralph, but really... I'm displeased.
Okay, so yeah, there's a screenshot. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Yeah, I did report into there, but I don't think I heard back from them.
Okay. They don't usually contact you back for obvious reasons, but when they do process it, and I've seen positive results come from it. The other thing is that somebody on my forum pointed out that I thought was an interesting thing is that the definition of child pornography, especially in the United States, is very nebulous. It's like a picture of your child in your photo album naked on the beach is not child pornography, but somebody who's not related to that child having dozens of pictures from dozens of children of the exact same footage suddenly becomes child pornography in their possession because of how the DOS standard works. To give you another example, if a pedophile in prison is taking magazines they distribute in prison and cutting out pictures of completely clothed children and collecting them, that can be child pornography possession in the United States because of the DOS standard. It depends heavily on the context. Also by the law, when you take child pornography and edit it, you're creating a duplicate work. You're creating a new work. Which means that if you're taking pictures of child pornography and editing the child pornography, you're manufacturing it. You're creating new child pornography. You don't want to do that. You want to delete it and then report it, and whatever information you can if you think it's actionable evidence. You do not want to edit it, duplicate it. It's like production of drugs. Even if you're taking cocaine and cutting it with sawdust, you're producing cocaine. As far as the law is concerned, it's a massive fuck up. You don't want to fuck with it. It's really bad. You want to delete it if you see it.
Okay, so this was a honeypot that everyone fell for and put in the wrong hands. Basically, like people were like, "Oh, we need, YouTubers need to solve this." When
okay, essentially yes, but the thing is, this whole mega folder and all that, all of this legal stuff that we sent to the FBI and these enforcements, that aspect of the story was never meant to go public. The thing is, this is kind of like two stories mangled into one, where it's there's the legal side of it where we send it to the FBI and it's all private, and then there's the side of it where we talk about how Instagram is allowing this shit to happen, and that's what the video is focused on. Hence the hashtag Instagram wake up, and that was essentially how the story was meant to be.
I don't know any details about what you guys do, but in general, I don't advocate for making videos like this because, for instance, the video that the guy did, the really famous one where he went into the YouTube comment section and shined a light on that, that causes problems outside of just. And I don't know what his intentions were, but it creates a lot of negative consequences.
Oh, you're talking about Matt's What It Is, right?
I think so.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this
We
is-
went into that.
It's
too.
clear to me that what they wanted was, oh, this guy got a lot of attention doing this for YouTube. Let's do this for Discord. And you have to be really, really careful. And to the person asking, why do I know so much? Because I've moderated 8chan and I run my own websites and I basically run my own ISP. I have to know what the procedures are for this kind of stuff because it happens. And generally speaking, you don't want to save it, you don't want to edit it, you don't want to create new child pornography, you don't want to lord it over their heads. If you know who they are and what they're doing, and you have evidence for that, you shouldn't tell them because then they're going to delete it and hide it, and then people are screwed because you can edit a screenshot. They need to be able to seize a hard drive or go to a website themselves and collect that evidence in a way that is legally presentable. So in general, this is a mistake. And as much as I like Andy and I see him as like a very nice person, and I wish he had talked to people before doing this because it's not going to work out.
Yeah. Okay, TWOON just joined the server. He says he's back. He should be getting on shortly so that he can respond to all of this. This is honestly crazy. This situation really took a turn, I have to say. It went from raising an issue about Instagram, possibly, being okay with this, to now all of a sudden, all of this. Oh my gosh. Man, what a story.
Yeah, and also, everything, before the video came out, everything was supposed to be, dealt with, so, this situation is solved, and then we make the Instagram video. Whether the video was smart to make or not is obviously up to debate, and you say it's not, so, and you seem very smart and well known on the subject, so I do trust you on that. But it's not like we intended to make the situation worse. We intended to solve it and then talk about it. But then Andy kind of jumped the gun and really wanted to start talking about this early without our knowledge. Basically.
I just started listening, so I'm sorry if this is something that you've already touched on, but were you helping him? Were you the third voice in that call?
No. I wasn't in the call at all. I was busy when that went down.
Do you know who it is? Because I don't recognize the voice from what I heard.
Oh, it was TWOON, who's about to come in the server. He's the guy who made the video. And then Kay was also in the call. I don't know. There's two other people here, Max and Tay. I don't know if they were involved in that specifically, but...
FBI open up. Alright, let's see. Where the hell is TWOON? What is he doing? He needs to get in colors right now and respond to this.
Yeah, TWOON, join the callers voice chat so we can drag you up.
Alright, while we wait for him. So do you think this this whole Instagram thing, bringing awareness about, the whole Instagram, being perfectly fine with this, do you think this was a reasonable argument to bring up?
I don't think any platform is perfectly fine with child abuse. That's...
Right, but the argument TWOON is making in his video was that they reported this multiple times to Instagram, Discord, apparently FBI and CPS, and nobody was doing anything about it.
Was it actually naked kids, or what was it? What was the actual...
It was basically children covering up their nipples and nothing else, and basically borderline porn, which, yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
I wouldn't want something like that on my website, but... I don't know the full details. If it's like a parental account and it's just their kids. The thing is that there was a scourge on 8chan of these studio pictures of children, and it was all clothed. It was technically legal, and it was done with parental consent. But they were extremely exploitative pictures that were. You look at them how do they get away with this? And it wasn't like it was produced in the fucking Philippines or in Ethiopia and exported into the United States through Tor or anything. It was American children in America in American studios wearing leotards and doing, focusing on the crotch area in the photos. And it was just posted on 8chan. And even by the rules, it's you can't delete it because technically it wasn't legal, and the rule was to delete things that were illegal. So if I think that this issue of how pedophiles propagate this stuff is something that could be addressed better, because it is an American studio that probably makes this stuff.
Addressed better by not by a YouTuber?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If this is something that's a big deal and enough people are seeing it and it's obviously out there, write your congressman.
Yeah.
And because I'm never an advocate for more censorship, but something could be said about allowing the production of what is essentially like softcore pornography of kids.
Yeah. Now, Nick said in the chat right here, Boblax, I thought you never saw it.
I've never seen the stuff in the mega folder. I've seen the stuff on the Instagram account that got reported, but we're still, like, Instagram let them stay up, and it's disgusting. But yeah, I've seen that, but I haven't seen anything in the mega folder.
And let me clarify, nobody opened the folder. I didn't even see the folder to open. Nobody's opened the folder.
Yeah, all that was shown on TWOON's video regarding the folder is all we saw.
And like, I don't know what's in it. I have no idea what was in that folder. But somebody said it was like 32 gigabytes of images. And again, it's like I said, like even if you took the Instagram account and it was a studio that promoted like nudist living or something, that's frequently an excuse they use. But even if it was just like a nudist catalog, they usually have a blend of ages and genders, so that it's like this is what life on a nudist colony is like.
Oh,
then,
it wasn't that.
But if you take those catalogs and you just take the pictures of kids and you throw them into a 32 gigabyte mega upload, that changes the context, and that's important to the DOS standard. So, yeah, you just don't want to deal with it. You want to get rid of it. You don't want to fucking swim around in it because it's like shit. You're swimming in shit. You're gonna get an infection swimming in shit. Don't do it. Just don't.
Nick says, "How do you know what was in it?"
How do I? I trust what people have said to me. We know there's people of all. It isn't just underage in there. There's people of all ages. There's a Belle Delphine folder in there, and yeah, and then there's other folders of names of kids who are kids, and we know are kids from other like Instagram and Twitter or whatever that are in that folder.
And
so
I
mean, if there's
on these stories as well, they've said, "Oh, these girls' things are in this folder," or stuff like that. Like they've admitted on stories and said, "Oh, this certain girl who's known for posting photos and that her leaked stuff is in this folder as well." Or they've said it in the comments or something like that, or someone's replied to it, because it's not just one page talking about this folder. By the way, it's different pages that talk about this folder.
All right, everyone wants to know who looked in the folder. Here's the thing. This is my understanding of the argument, and you guys can feel free to interrupt me if I got this wrong. There was a folder. One of the files was open, which was the Belle Delphine file, correct?
Yes.
Belle Delphine.
And Belle Delphine is over 18.
Yes.
And it was nudes.
Yes.
So
and there was
logically, they came to the conclusion that this entire folder is full of nudes with all the folders of the girls who were underage, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the logic we're going by to assume that the rest of the folder.
I don't know if anyone checked it. I didn't, but
I mean, it'd be kind of weird to check it because you gotta go to jail. I don't know.
But yeah, and I mean, people on the stories of the people who were sharing this and selling it, they talked about these girls being in the folder. Like, it's not hard to connect the dots.
Okay, so just like logical reasoning, assuming like obviously for sure, like nobody can open it and see for sure, but just it's pretty obvious basically.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just sitting here waiting for TWOON at this point. I don't know where he is. Oh, let me see.
Yeah, he said he was on a while ago, but
yeah, I don't know where he is. We need to hear from him at this point though, because this stuff's literally insane. He says, "I am here in the Discord. Hurry up, TWOON!" Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Alright, I think that's my spiel. That's just what I wanted to
Well,
say.
thank you for coming on, Josh. I appreciate you providing some clarification there.
Yeah, and just a word of wisdom. If you are interested in helping kids get a education in criminology and online investigation and join the police, because just be aware you're probably going to need like therapy after a while if we do go into that. Just a thought.
So guys, you've all heard in the news in the last 24 hours that reports come out that about Telford, the grooming gangs, and probably the worst case in Britain. This is not actually frigging right, because every city across the UK, this kind of thing is happening on an industrial scale. These are not just sexual grooming gangs, these are rape gangs, raping young people, young as 10, 11-year-olds, and destroying their lives. Telford is not the only town or the city where it's happening. You just have to Google any town, Bradford, Leeds, Aylesbury, Oxford, Bristol, Newcastle, and you're getting the same formula, that lover boy formula, providing people with gifts, providing them with drink and drugs, and then drugging them and then raping them on an industrial scale. Girls young as 11, 10-year-olds. Makes me sick to the core when I hear these things. But girls young as 10, 11, passed on to people, town to town, raped by 5 to 10 people a day. And you know what? The rape gangs went out and done it. But the government, the council, the police aided and abetted them. By remaining silent on this issue, they were actually on the side of the perpetrators. And still to this date, nobody really wants to tackle the core of the problem. Everybody's too scared. Everybody's too PC, politically correct. Everybody wants to appease. In the last 40 years, it's appeasement. And appeasement in my books is cowardice. We have people in high positions who could make changes overnight that would have an impact across the UK, but they are too much of cowards. These people will say the right words because it's in the press now. And they'll be saying them for the next 2-3 days. And once it's out the press, once the news is gone, out of sight, out of mind, and they haven't done anything about it. Things that were put in place after the Rotherham ain't working. It ain't working because we're not tackling the real cause. We can't even say, without being accused of racism or Islamophobia, we can't even say who these perpetrators are. But if we can't say who they are, how can we tackle these visible people? You know, these invisible people. We've got to make them visible so we can tackle this problem. It's sickening, and I would love to swear, because there are words here that I would love to use, but which I won't. I won't belittle myself, but it hurts me. It hurts me for reasons. For the last 20 years, we've been saying these things to police forces up and down the country, and all they've been saying is bring proof, bring proof, bring proof. And we now know they've been sitting on proofs. Rotherham was sitting on proof. Telford was sitting on proof. And it's extremely sickening in the case of Telford, when these perpetrators, these gangs, these rape gangs, were given 20-year sentences, and one of them's already out after 5, and he's probably, you know, sitting in the sun somewhere outside, having no remorse of what he's done.
An investigation into one of the worst cases of child sex abuse in the UK is stalling due to a lack of qualified personnel. The abuse scandal centres around the sexual exploitation of over 1,400 children over the course of 3 decades in the British town of Rotherham. It was revealed that 80% of the suspected perpetrators were of Pakistani origin. RT's Polly Boyko now looking at why the investigation, launched 3 years ago, is failing to make progress.
According to the senior officer investigating the scandal, 100 more police officers are needed to uncover the truth. So far, police have managed to interview 17% of a possible 1,500 victims due to a shortage in specially trained detectives.
It's a really specialist area, engaging and interviewing vulnerable victims. A lot of our victims were children when they were abused, but they're now adults and have associated problems as a result of that abuse, including suicidal tendencies, mental health issues, drug and alcohol addiction.
The Rotherham scandal led to a national outcry when the scale of the child abuse was first exposed back in 2012. 2 years later, an independent inquiry found that for decades, through systemic failures in policing and social services, the sexual abuse of children went on right under the noses of the authorities. Gangs of men, the majority of whom were of Pakistani origin, preyed on mostly white girls aged from 11 to 15. Many of the victims thought they were in relationships with their abusers. When the crimes were uncovered, local authorities in Yorkshire were accused of failing to tackle the problem, partly through fear of being branded racist.
On the part of the authorities, in their cases, they were actually saying that these girls made a lifestyle choice. It's about the fact that the authorities didn't want to be branded racist. The ringleaders of the Rotherham grooming gang last year, I think, they're distant relatives of mine. But you know what? It doesn't change the responsibility that people like me have on tackling this particular issue. So I've been campaigning against child sexual exploitation and on-street gang grooming gangs who are predominantly of a Pakistani origin for over 10 years.
The investigation into Rotherham abuse has cost £10 million so far. 4 individuals have been convicted, 18 have been charged, and 38 have been arrested. No one senior has been held to account. And with just 17% of the victims interviewed so far, all this may just be the tip of the iceberg.
Coming up, an explosive report you just have to see to believe. Muslims rape gangs targeting girls by the thousands, but the truth is being silenced by political correctness. It's a huge scandal in Britain. Muslim rape gangs. You may not have heard much about it. It's been covered up by the media and the government. But now we're about to show you the entire story, and it is shocking. Phil Hurd brings us this incredible story from London.
Some scandals are so massive that they're simply hard to believe. But this one is true. As many as 1 million white English children may have been the victims of Muslim rape gangs, better known as grooming gangs, in towns up and down Great Britain. Policy analyst George Igler.
I mean, when you counter an issue that is just so unbelievable, just so outside your frame of reference and understanding, the immediate human reaction is just not want to believe it at all.
Perhaps even harder to believe is that while there have been prosecutions, British authorities have still not stopped this criminal activity. There's a particular problem involving Pakistani heritage men who target young, vulnerable white English girls. Not my words, but a member of Parliament, Jack Straw, who also said these Pakistani heritage men view white English girls as, quote, easy meat. This is when some shout racism, but here are the facts. Calculations based on convictions show that a British Muslim male is 170 times more likely to be part of a sex grooming gang than a non-Muslim. And there are no recorded instances of non-Muslims doing this to Muslim girls as part of a criminal enterprise. In one local jurisdiction, it was estimated that 6 out of 7 Muslim males either knew about or were part of a grooming gang.
What you do not have is any example of non-Muslim men targeting Muslim girls for this organized form of abuse. So the argument that this crime exists everywhere is not only false, but is being deliberately cultivated by the media and by the government inquiry that is kicking the can down the road.
The grooming gangs have been traced back as far as the late 1980s. At-risk white English girls, often from broken homes and some as young as 9 years old, were wooed or groomed by teenage Muslim boys called Romeos, and even by groups of Muslim men who hung around school gates. The plan was to make the girl feel important. She was given gifts and drugs, but she was being groomed to be a drug-addicted prostitute. Then came the gang rapes. The girls were threatened with death if they tried to flee.
It's not just sexual abuse. It is unspeakable levels of violence. Victims being raped with knives, victims being raped with bottles, victims having their tongue nailed to tables. These are sometimes girls who are being picked up from children's homes on a Friday, are being raped during the course of the weekend by hundreds of men, and then returned with bleeding groins back to the children's homes on a Monday morning, and they don't do anything about it at all.
Christine's goddaughter was preyed on by the grooming gangs and is helping girls through the group Women Against Grooming.
They pulled up by the side of her in cars. They tried to get her in the car. They were talking to her. Come on, come with us. We'll take you here. We'll take you there.
Were you saying that the authorities make it sound like it's the English girl's fault?
Yeah, or the parents' fault. It's your fault because you haven't got control of your child.
If you are a young English girl, particularly between the ages of 9 and 14, and you find yourself subject to the perversions of Muslim men, you effectively exist in a country where the forces of law and order don't exist at all.
Stephen Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, former leader of the English Defence League, was just a young boy in the town of Luton when he learned a family member had been victimized by a grooming gang.
My cousin was raped and she was found naked running from the Muslim community, aged 13. The police wouldn't help. All the police would say is she's a drug addict. She was a drug addict because they got her hooked on drugs after grooming and raping her.
Some say grooming gangs originate from a particular region of Pakistan, but others point out that the Quran encourages Muslims to take enemy women as sex slaves, and that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old wife. ISIS defends sexual slavery as Islamic, saying enslaving the families of the infidels and taking their women as concubines is a firmly established aspect of the Sharia, or Islamic law. The reason these crimes were covered up and continue to this day is political correctness. No one wanted to be called a racist. The definitive book on this scandal is Easy Meat by Peter McLaughlin, who declined an on-camera interview for safety reasons. He told us journalists would not speak about it because the perpetrators were mostly dark-skinned and Muslim. Childcare professionals used political correctness as an omerta, a code of silence concerning what the public was allowed to know.
These girls are the victims of a multicultural revolution, and it's certainly an indication of the fact that this accusation of racism is potentially the most powerful political weapon known to man. This is also an example of what can happen in a country of 60 million where the press just refuse to report, where the cries of all these agencies fail to merely discuss what's going on, and it's only going to get worse for this reason.
The cover-up was eventually exposed, yet the grooming gangs continue to operate. One victim told a British newspaper, "Nothing has changed, not in the slightest. It's still the same scale as before."
They get sexual kicks out of ruining the most precious possession that those people have, their daughters.
Stephen Lennon warned that there will be repercussions.
But there will be a lot of blood spilled in this country, and it'll be on the hands of our leaders. And there'll come a time when they'll realise what they've done, and the country's people will realise what they've done as well. They've sold us out, they've destroyed our nation, they've destroyed our culture.
All right, Paula, so let's just take another comment from the man in the middle here.
Going back to your integration policy, where I think you've mentioned that where the perpetrators of sex grooming gangs are continually targeting girls from outside their community, why do you think the UK political parties are so shy of noticing this pattern where the victims are almost always white girls, Sikh girls and Hindu girls, and the grooming gangs are almost always from a particular section of the community, i.e. Pakistani Muslims?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's because of political correctness. Other political parties other political parties and local authorities have turned a blind eye for this for far too long. And we end up in a situation like Rotherham, where we've had 1,400 girls who've been either groomed or raped or gone through terrible, terrible things. The fact is, because of political correctness, we've said nothing and we've turned a blind eye. The point is, I would argue that religion and race in these circumstances should be an aggravating factor when these cases go to court.
Right. So you actually want, because these people have been through the criminal justice system and they were convicted in the cases that you've said. What do you want to do further? You want to make their religion...
Well, in future... Well, actually, religion and race in other cases are an aggravating factor, but again, when it comes to these grooming gangs, it hasn't been, and it is wrong. These girls are being picked generally because they're Hindu, they're Sikh, but predominantly they're white and they're Christian. These girls aren't being groomed from within the Muslim community. My lords, I fear that reply is shamefully inadequate, because these girls are usually raped several times a day. And so if we accept the views of our lead police officer for child protection, of Rotherham's MP, and of the recent Jay and Quilliam reports, we seem to be looking at millions of rapes of white and Sikh girls by Muslim men, only 222 of whom have been convicted since 2005. So, my lords, will the government ask our Muslim leaders whether the perpetrators can claim that their behaviour is sanctioned in the Quran, and to issue a fatwa against it? And second, my lords, will the government encourage a national debate about the various interpretations of Islam? Can we talk about Islam without being accused of hate crime?